Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. It's RC Groups podcast. Break 19. Break 19. I need a kit check on I-40. Hey everyone, it's Jim Graham with RC Groups, and I got to tell you, I picked the wrong day to quit sniffing glue. What a day! I literally a second ago, Jason Cole said live broadcast, and I was like,
what is happening?
So today you're going to wonder, why is Mean Joe taking time out of his busy schedule, which I would like to talk about, by the way, because how in the hell does Mean Joe do all these things? But Mean Joe, okay, stop, rewind. I had a user say, why don't you talk about kits next week and kit building? It's a neglected part of the hobby that will really keep us rolling into the future. And then I thought, okay, I know that guy. That's Mean Joe. And so I thought, Mean Joe, we would talk about you. Then we talk about Balsa USA and what it has to offer. And then we would talk about a new company that's come out from Pete Goldsmith. And we might go look at his website, some of his offerings. And then we might have recounts of our own kit building experience in the RC world. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, Joe, where are you at? It looks sort of like you're at an institution of some sort.
I'm actually in our spare room. We are under a very large renovation right now, and this is the only room that I had a spot that I could set up.
Nice, nice. And Jason, you're off the road and back in your house. It is raining.
Yeah, it's kind of a nasty looking day, right? It's a perfect day to build the kit.
Yes. So I'll start out with the first thing I ever did was, well, the very first thing I did was I bought a pre-built Italian airplane. Man, I forget the name of it. It starts with an S, but and it was Italian. But the second thing I did was I built a kit. And so I started building kits for profile planes, which are easy. I looked up to see my building boards over here. You could take the plans and lay them on your building board, and I had all these great little pins, and then you would start cutting the wood to match the pieces on the plans, and then you would CA and build in CA and build in CA. And I had a school desk, a wooden school desk like you might see in the olden days, probably not now. And I would sit at this while my wife and I watch TV, and then I would have my build board on top of the school desk, and I would build every night. And then one day I decided, or actually Mike Hines invited me to build a kit for Hobby Lobby. And I found out that building three-dimensional fuselages are totally different than building flat profile planes.
Yeah, for sure.
So Jason, have you built a kit before?
Yeah, I've not probably as many as like the hardcore kit builders, but I've probably built 5 or 6 in my day. I think one of the, well, maybe not the first one, but one of the ones I remember the most was probably a Paul Swanee Taco, a little 32 size profile plane. And then I've built a couple of Telemasters, a mini and a micro, using the laser cut parts from the newer versions of those kits. And I really enjoy building from a laser cut kit because a lot of the parts are, already cut the shape. You don't have to do a whole lot of work to individual parts. You just basically put them in place and glue them on and pin them if you need to.
But what about when that laser cut part is overly burned and will not take your thin CA?
Well, you can clean it up. You get a little sandpaper, but you make it work out. I'm sure Joe's built a lot more than both of us combined. Probably can talk more about it. But for me, I find it can be therapeutic almost. It's like you work on it on gross days when you're not going to go flying or you don't have anything to do. And over the winter is a great time to work on a kit because it might take you, a couple of days to a couple of months or more, depending on what you're building and what you're working on and how much effort you want to put into it to make it look cool. But I find that the most important thing is preparation. Make sure you have enough area on your table. Make sure you've got the right equipment, the right tools, the right glue, building boards, everything appropriately sized, and just get a good organized start. And that's going to just carry throughout the process and make it enjoyable and should go well for you. So it's a lot of fun. If you've never built a kit, anybody out there, you can pick up kits for cheap, 30, 40, 50 bucks up to, $1,000. There's a whole range of them, but kind of find something that fits your budget and interest, and give it a shot. I mean, you know, what's the worst that can happen?
So we are saving the best for last. We're saving the real expert here. So tell us, Joe, when did you start kit building?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I dabbled around with some of the smaller stuff like Jason was saying. I'd done a lot of the Stevens model aero and the mountain model stuff. And I built some of the Gillows kits when I was younger. But as far as major kit building, I started mostly when I started with Balsa USA, building a lot of the bigger stuff.
And so what was that like to jump into? I've never built, let me think. I've never built anything bigger than maybe a 60 size plane. So what was it like to build like a warbird or something like that?
Well, the cool thing about it was I got a boss at Balsa that really understood the fact that I wasn't a master kit builder. And, you know, his words to me was, that's not why we're bringing you on. You can learn your craft as you go. So he's been real good with helping me learn. And I'm still learning. I learn on a daily basis things that we can do and things that we can use to make our kit building better.
So tell me let's say that somebody out there wanted to start building kits. What do they need to go out and buy? I mean, CA, jigs, what do they need? Saws?
Well, and that's one of the things Jason kind of kicked on a few minutes ago. You don't need a lot. There's a very minimal amount of tools that you really need to make sure you get. The most important part of building a kit is having a very level building surface. Your building surface has to be level. Now, you can have it set at the 45-degree angle if you want to, but that board that you're building on has to be level. Any curvature, any unsquareness to that building board is going to transfer right into your models when you build. I would say a good level building board is number one. And then really sandpaper, a number 11 X-Acto blade, and a couple of sanding bars, and really some CA, and you can build a lot of stuff just with those tools. I mean, there's obviously a lot of tools out there that make the process a lot easier. You know, you start talking about builder squares, you start talking about long metal straight edge rulers, you know, yardsticks, the metal ones with the solid edges and all that kind of stuff. But really, there's not a whole lot you have to have. One of the biggest things I've ran into since I started working here is that people are just intimidated by it because they're afraid to make a mistake. One of my favorite things to say is it's just wood. You know, if you screw it up, you can get more wood. So.
Yeah.
So one thing I purchased early on was I was always not getting like if I had a stick and it had to be cut at an angle to fit, I bought this, I don't even know what it's called now. You could put the stick in and pick your angle, and then you could saw it. Theoretically, a miter box. Yes.
Miter box, yeah. There's actually a real simple way, and I actually got this off of building the foamies way back when. 3M makes a little sanding block that's got a 45-degree bevel on it. That is perfect for making 45-degree bevels on balsa wood. It works great. You just lay the piece on the edge of it and sand up to the point where you're touching the beveled edge of the sanding block, and those things are like $2.
Yeah, pro tip.
Yeah, it works great too. I use it all the time.
You know what I bought now? I don't know if this applies. It might be too big of a tool for such a thing, but I have a belt sander that I keep in the shop for doing my leather stuff. But I found I belt sand everything from saddles on guitars. You just have to be thoughtful and not leave it on too long. Yeah.
Right. And then the big thing about sanding is it sand in small increments because it's easy to stop, but it's not so easy to add wood back.
Right.
So go easy when you're sanding. You know, some of the more advanced stuff, you know, in my shop, I've got a multi sander like you're talking about with a flat edge and then a disc sander attached to it. And then I've got a miter box, I've got a jigsaw, I've got a bandsaw, I've got a table saw. So I have all those tools, but I'll be honest with you, you don't really need that stuff to build. It does make some of the processes a little bit easier, but as far as getting started, you don't really need something much. Right. A lot of people build on card tables, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not, it doesn't take up that much space.
Well, let's jump over to the Balsa USA site. And some of the stuff we're talking about that you might need, I would think would be here. So number one, Balsa. Now I know Balsa's been hard to get a hold of. It'll come and go. I had one guy tell me they were building a radar-resistant battleship out of with Balsa internals, and that's why sometimes it would be hard to find. Is that actually true?
Yeah, there was kind of a shortage on balsa wood, and I'll be honest with you, I think most of it was driven by the wind generators, the big blades. Those were being made from balsa wood. They've changed. I think a lot of that stuff's being made with carbon fiber now. I might be mistaken, but I know they were not using as much balsa as they were when they first started out.
So have you been to the shop and seen all the balsa here that we're seeing in this photo?
Oh yeah, I took that picture.
Wow, nice. So basically,
a small portion of it. It's ridiculous when you get in there and start seeing the amount of balsa. We fill up.
It's not called Balsa USA for nothing.
Right. We fill up a big trash gondola, the big, like the dumpster style things full of sawdust in just a couple of days. I mean, overflowing the top.
Wow.
So,
and so I don't want to jump too far ahead, but another aspect of this that was the thing I enjoyed the most was covering. After I built, I would just learning how to cover properly using a heat gun and an iron and all that, and then creating your own graphics. So with the Profile Brotherhood, it was always a big deal to see who could make the trickiest graphics. And then we invented the Windex method, which, Jason, have you done all this where you, like I did a Dr. Pepper trim scheme, which is maddening. I'll Google it and find it. And, but to get everything on and no bubbles, Gator showed me how to use Windex. So you spray it and you lay it down, it slides around and you can get out all the bubbles, and then you just leave it alone overnight and it evaporates.
Are you talking about for vinyl graphics on top of covering, or covering on top of covering?
We would cut shapes out of covering, and I'll show you this Dr. Pepper plane, and that's all from covering. Do you do any tricky stuff like that?
Well, most of the stuff I've been doing to this point are just, scale warbirds. So we don't have a lot of that type of stuff going on. I am planning on a couple of things with our beginner build series that we're doing on the YouTube channel that I'm going to try to do some neater stuff with, but I haven't tried that yet. I have tried the Windex method with some other airplanes that I've had, and it works great. Basically, you turn them into water slide decals like you use for plastic models and slide them around where you want to. And when you get in there, you just let them set.
I want to hunt for this picture. Jason, do you have any thoughts on, what we should do is look at our live Hangout here.
Well, there's lots of great tips on RCGroups about building, and we have some great kit, sections and scale guys that build, and there's a wealth of information on tutorials, guys made YouTube videos, and how to cover properly, because there's a lot of tips and tricks that you can kind of learn to make life easier with how you cut, oversize the piece that you need, and in ways you can, reduce wrinkles and make it come out just right. And, when to use an iron or when to use a heat gun, there's seemingly a lot to it, but again, it's not that difficult. It's relatively simple, but the more the better start you're going to have going into it.
The analogy I liked is if you can wrap a Christmas present, you can cover an airplane.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Most people can't.
Right, I'm horrible at it.
So maybe we'll jump over to Balsa USA and look at some of the things that you guys have to build. Like maybe you could talk about your favorite airplanes.
Well, honestly, and you've known me for a while now, you know that if it flies, I love it. So to me, I like them all. It's like being a kid in a candy store. There's just everything on there flies good that I've tried. And, we've got some more new stuff coming out here. We're going to launch a couple of new airframes at Toledo this year. I've flown just about all of the big warbirds. I think there's only one or two that I haven't actually flown, and they all fly really well. I would say the characteristics on them are very similar. The big thing that we run into is people choosing the right airframes because of the size. When you jump up into the third scale airplanes, they are huge, and you got to have a way to store them and a way to transport them and all that stuff. But that's actually that Bristol M1. So what I've got going on right now on the YouTube channel is I've got a beginner build series going. And as soon as my shop gets where I can actually walk in it again, I'm going to finish up the one we started on the Stick 40, and then the Bristol M1 there is going to be the next build in the build series. The idea behind it is we're taking you from initial setup to tools to how you set up your workbench to all the way up to completing the airframe. And then we're going to eventually, I'd like to keep it going long enough to keep it up and maybe eventually do something like building a third scale triplane or something like that.
I gotta say, Joe, this large photo isn't much larger.
I don't know what's going on with that. That's weird. We just went through some new website design issues, and I'm not sure why those aren't working. I noticed that when you were clicking on the triplane too, it wasn't blowing up like it should. That's part of my job, so I get to go in and fix that. So I'm glad you did it.
Nice. Straight to the horse's mouth.
Yes,
okay, so let me ask you this. If someone that was going to build their first stick belt plane, which one on this page would you tell them to go to?
I would go to the Stick 40 if you've never built an airplane. It's super simple. The fuselage is literally a box with a 45-degree angle cut on the front of it.
Should be under 4 planes.
Yeah, it'll be under, let's see, it'll be under 4 planes.
Be under what?
You're right there on the screen to the right.
Here on the right there, yeah. A really simple build. You got to build the wing up. Fuselage is very, very simple, and it will teach you all the stuff you need. And the thing about the balsa planes is once you build a plane like this, you can build any of the rest of them. They all build pretty much the same.
So it's 8465.
Yes, sir.
You get to learn how to cover a wing, which is tricky.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, I had all these skill sets at one time. I can see it. I just wonder if I could do it again.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the thing about it is I know a lot of the guys that have been in the hobby for a while that have been flying the ARFs and are good pilots, and they don't want to start off on the trainer style model, like the Stick 40. But what I suggest people do is, get a build underneath your belt, build it, get it done, and then give it to somebody at the club that's learning if you want, or keep it in your trailer so when somebody stops by the field and needs a trainer, you've got one that you can throw them on.
That's cool. I dig this one. I'm a big biplane guy.
Yep. Well, there's lots of biplanes on there.
So there may be a bunch of guys out there watching this or listening to the podcast later that, have never done even an ARF. Maybe they've only done ready to fly planes and bind and flies and things where there's literally nothing to do but maybe screw a wing on and bind it. But there's a whole nother process to the building and flying that's so much fun, and it's installing your electronics and your servos and connecting the linkages and making sure they're tight and slop free, and there's so much more that a lot of people enjoy about it. That process is almost just as fun as actually flying and using the model. So if you've never tried it, it is something to think about and to look into and maybe give it a shot sometime. But you might really, really enjoy it. It's just part of that, something about using your hands and building it and making it work and put it together that it gives you a little bit more pride when you're at the field actually flying. And I made that.
Yeah, and that's a whole different feeling when you go out there and you've built something from a box of wood and you go out there and you made it for the first time. Not to say maiden in any other plane's not fun and exciting, but if you've built it from your own skill set and you have it and you put it together from literally sticks, I think it's just a lot nicer. I was really surprised when I first got into it building heavy how much I do enjoy it. And it's just, of course, living in the Great White North like I do here, I've got 8 months of winter, so it's a good opportunity to build.
It's a hobby into the hobby.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Guys like E-Powered RC on the chat. He says, I've done it, been flying since 1989. I don't enjoy it. He says, I enjoy the flying part.
Yeah, that's what the Stick 40 we were talking about. The Stick 40, it was $80, right? You spend $80, try it, see if you like it. If you don't like it, then you're out $80 and you end up with the plane in the end. Because you really have to be trying to mess up the Stick 40. It's a really simple build. Plus, to me, learning that stuff, also, I know a lot of guys like their ARFs. It really gives you an idea how things are put together. So when you go out and you crash an ARF, then you kind of get a lot better understanding of how things that you could do to fix it.
Yeah.
I'll speak on that.
On the trash can.
I sold a pistol and bought a 70-inch Booker Bite. And on the Maiden, we talked about this on the podcast with Bryce Custer. On the Maiden, we flew it into a pallet or a whole pile of crates of pallets. And so the whole front end was like askew. And basically, Bryce said, this is your plane. You have to fix it, which I couldn't wrap my head around how I would fix it. Right. And he said, just cut the covering off and then get some CA and fix it. And so, I put it off. And then an hour in, I was done. And I knew that now I could fix anything I ever crashed again.
Yeah.
So it's pretty empowering to know that you can take balsa and wood and do whatever you want with it.
And a lot has changed over the years. Kit building today is not like it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's the technology and creating the kit parts has come a long way and makes it so much easier than it used to be. Joe, we've got a question for you from the chat. Says, are they going to carry the electronic conversion for the Stick 40? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, actually, we've got some prototype parts. As soon as my build's finished, I've got another one set here, and we're going to do part of it's going to be a new manual. And when I build the new one for the new manual, it's going to have the electric conversion pieces in it. We've already cut some prototype parts, and those are going to be coming. I would hope that we would have those ready to ship by the first of the year. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. It's literally just a box.
So here's an interesting question from the chat too. Lee's asking if you had the same airplane, foam versus balsa, same size airplanes. He says, what's the weight comparison? And there's a lot more to it than just the weight, but
yeah, there's going to be a lot more weight, obviously, to the balsa. As far as the overall weight of the airplane, it's going to be a lot more balsa than it is on foam, just because of the nature of the material. But that's, the power systems are different. I've had airplanes that are foamy, and I've had airplanes that are balsa. And the flying characteristics are the flying characteristics for the most part. I mean, an airplane flies like it's designed. So if you took a, I don't even know, like a P-47, I'll use that as an example. A P-47 ARF, top flight ARF kit, say the 40 size top flight ARF kit, and then compare that to the Horizon Hobbies P-47, the airplanes are going to fly very similar. There's just going to be different power setups.
Yeah, and for me, part of it is the actual size of that model. Smaller models, the balsa is going to be heavier. The larger models, it may not be much heavier at all. But then, a balsa plane seems to last longer. Pending crashes. If you don't crash it, it's going to hold up better over time and over the years of you having this airplane. It's not going to sag. It's not going to bend. It's just the material is going to just hold up and stay structurally in sync better than a foam plane will. And you get a lot of guys like them because they fly a little bit faster with more inertia and energy for aerobatics and
penetration.
Yeah, penetration. There's a lot of flight characteristic differences between foam and a wooden airplane that you can't really know until you tried them side by side. But
right. When you talk about the longevity of it, I don't know if anybody that's seen me at events knows I fly our quarter scale SPAD quite a bit. That plane has literally went through 5 engines, like wore them all. So we're estimating it's our second highest flight time airplane we have, and we're estimating it to be the more than 10,000 flights.
Wow.
Dang.
The airplane itself's like 15 years old. So,
Jason, you remember my 40 size knife that kind of kicked off the whole ProBro thing?
I sure do, yeah.
That thing's in the garage, and I actually I don't know how long ago, but I redid the whole thing for Nashbro one year and got it back going, and I could go fly it right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, there's some maintenance involved, maybe rarely, over the years. You might have to, take a heating iron or a heat gun and tighten up the covering. Maybe it's sagged a little bit and the covering is slightly loose. You just have to 2 seconds and it's back and tight and pretty again. And then, if you really want to, you can change up the whole look and strip all the covering off and recover it. The inherent structure underneath is pristine and ready to go at any time. So,
or if you are walking through a doorway and you doink the rudder, which I used to do all the time. All you got to do is peel back the covering a little bit, hit it with thin CA and kick it, and then lay your covering back, and it's back to normal.
And that's the cool thing too. If you don't want to do that, if you do that same thing, if you can tell where the break is, you can use a syringe with some thin CA, and that'll work fantastic too.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. When I found out what thin CA and wood would do together, it changed my life because I do a lot of guitar stuff. The other trick I used a lot was baking soda and thin CA. So if I had a joint that wasn't just right, or if I wanted the wing to really be in there, I would take baking soda and fill the gap, and then take my finger before I kicked it or hit it and make sure it was smooth, and then just put in thin CA, and you couldn't break it loose.
That's awesome. Very cool.
What I'll usually do is I'll build primarily most of everything with thin, and then if I need a fillet or if I need a stronger joint in certain spots, I'll go back over the top of that with some thick, and just lay a little bead along there, and then do a fillet on it, and it's just strong as it can be. It's not going to break at the joint. It's going to break maybe on either side of the joint, but it's not going to break at the joint.
Hey, everybody, I want to stop right here and thank Balsa USA for being a sponsor, vendor, or neither one are app descriptions, for being an advertiser on RCGroups.com, supporting the site. But I also want to thank our podcast sponsor, Hobby King at HobbyKing.com, who's having a sale. I can announce it now all month long. And we should be having banners going up to talk about all the different things they're going to be putting on sale. I've been working night and day to get this going for them. And I'm going to have a mass email going out on it. So keep your eye out on that. And without further ado, let's get back to Jason. Jason, when was your last haircut?
3 weeks ago. I don't know. It's about, I'm about due. Yeah, I'm about due.
Jason, have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
I have only seen videos. I have not played it.
If you don't go to the barber or shave, your hair starts growing out. So that's what made me think your hair. And that joke is never going to get old, I don't think.
It'll probably get old.
Mean Joe, let's jump over to your life. I see your postings. You appear to be at every aeronautical event on Earth, and you're usually near the cockpit. How does this happen?
Well, I just, I've got a very patient wife is what it boils down to. She allows me to use my spare time when I have some to go chase airplanes. I do a lot of full-scale stuff. I do a lot of RC stuff, and she lets me do it. So I think it's because she wants me out of the house.
Well, it's pretty amazing, all the stuff you do. I'm always like, I cannot believe how he's here, then here, then here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. And I love to be out with the people, and I love to be around the aviation stuff. And you guys know as well as I do, the group of people in this hobby are amazing, and I meet new people almost daily, and the events that we get to go to are pretty nice.
Awesome. We have a post in the live chat about RC groups and Balsa build reviews, and so let me I'll two-prong it. The first prong is, if we're doing our job here, there isn't a lot of time anymore in my life to do a stick build. But that doesn't mean that there aren't reviewers out there who like to stick build. If you are a stick builder, and being a reviewer is tricky business, as we all know, because you don't know, it's like, you're not just building the airplane, you're taking photos of every step, you're videotaping, you have to talk, you have to edit, you have to upload. There's so much to it. But I would love to have a stick builder on staff. Jason, is Petrilla a stick builder?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. Well, let's keep our eye out for that. And then
moly.
What?
Nick says my Balsa build has been underway for about 15 years.
What's been his what? His review?
His Balsa build. He's building. He's got some. I don't know what it is. Tell us what it is, Nick. But he's got some kind of kit he's building for 15 years.
Nick, why isn't that a thread? Why aren't you updating it like once a month? You know, today I glued this stick on.
Yeah, they really do lend themselves. There's a lot of build threads out there where guys will just, update their progress over months and months and months, and it's great to watch and see it all come together. It's a Great Plains F-15.
Let me flip side that and say, if you're doing a build on a stick plane, PM me and I'll feature it and I'll put it right out in front of everybody. That's an even better way because now we have the users doing what they do best. On the Flight Fest West, we have Mike McDougall at Flight Fest. The section has been created and Mike says he's getting lots of photos, but not lots of internet connection. So if you're not seeing anything yet, it's simply because Mike doesn't have the feed to get it up and out, but it is coming. So fear not. We are big fans of the flight test guys, and they're awesome. I'm also a big fan of Texas.
Jim, what's the rest of your shirt say?
Shotgun Willie. This was my Halloween outfit. I was Willie Nelson, and really somebody goes, "Oh, I love your outfit," and I was like, "I really pretty much dress like this all the time, so I don't know." The bandana, the guitar, really, what was different? Other than the shirt. I was also going to say, hey, sometimes advertisers are on the chat and watching, and if you are, I just sent out the mass email to be in our Black Friday Cyber Monday email that will be going out to over 136,000 people. So if you want in on that, shoot me a PM and I'll explain what you need to do to be in our mass email. It does cost money. So just say that right up front. Sometimes, Jason, when I send out the mass email and it says, have your ad put here, I get a lot of people that want to put their ad from the classifieds in the mass email.
Oh, yeah, fun. Hey, that's a great way to sell.
Well, no, it's an interesting concept. It's just not exactly what I'm advertising for in the mass email.
There you go.
So
because he can write up his article on that kit when he gets around to finishing it. Well, next our deadline on that, you get another 10 years, and then it has to be done.
I would love to see the synopsis, just like some photos, maybe 18 years in the making could be your title.
The first set of photos will be on a floppy disk.
And then we could look at how young you were when you started,
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the first set of photos will be on like a floppy disk. You'll have to convert them over so you can make them digital. And
on a zip. I remember the zip drives. Is that they were called the blue thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had to get a floppy disk drive with a USB connector on it so I could access some old, probably insanely embarrassing high school photos on floppy disks we had from back then. Man, I'm old.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Mm-hmm. I'm probably gonna have to go to do the little finger rectum stuff.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a colonoscopy. So I was at a party and colonoscopy was brought up twice. My wife is like, "Please don't bring this up." I didn't bring it up; somebody else did. And then I went to exercise yesterday, and I'm watching Ellen and Spade. What's Spade's first name?
David Spade.
Yeah, David Spade. His whole thing was about talking about a colonoscopy. So obviously it's hip and cool now to get the colonoscopy.
Oh, yeah.
You can order the kit.
We're all headed there, folks.
Jason says, oh, yeah.
I want to share this with everyone out there so it doesn't happen to you. I went to my doctor and I said, look, I'm going to do this. I've known too many people dying from the colon cancer. And he said, look, there's an easy way, Jim. And he gave me a box and an address. And he said, you just have to put a sample in the box and send it off. And it's that easy. And I was like, great. That is what I want to do. So I did. And I got a phone call about 6 days later. And it was the doctor's ex-wife. And she said, don't send any more things to my house. My ex-husband tells everyone to send samples to this address. And you're about the 30th person I've got a box of SHIT from. And I apologized and told her that I was sorry. And then I had to go get a real colonoscopy.
Oh my gosh, that is epic. I love that.
That's awesome.
That guy got it.
Don't fall for that, guys.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
To me, Joe, it's almost winter time. Do you have to go anywhere or do you have to lay low for the winter now?
Well, travel's pretty much done for this season. I tell you, once this remodeling gets done, I need to get busy in my shop. I'm falling behind on projects that I had scheduled already. So just because I literally can't walk into my shop right now, the electricians had to have everything pulled out away from the wall so that they could get to the panels. And I just took everything and shoved it over against one wall. So traveling is probably much done until after the first of the year. I know next year, this time of year, I'll be at Dino's event. Because that's going on this week, and I'm seeing the pictures, and I'm really regretting not being able to go. So,
is that Rhinebeck?
No, that one's at Mac Hodges.
Ah, nice. I was just at Mac Hodges' place.
Yep. Hey, we have a chat about the Scimitar 110 versus the 170, and I want to say my Scimitar 170 review, of course, is out, but the 110 Scimitar review just went up like today, right, Jason?
Well, they just announced it's a new one. I did the 210. You did the 170. Now they've got a smaller version, 110.
Okay.
They're not out. It comes up in a couple of weeks or something. It'll be available.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe she will send me that because I do love my Scimitar so much. Once again, it's a top 2 airplane. It's my Theory Type W and that Scimitar are my 2. I'm reading the live chat now. That's why we all went quiet.
Silent.
Well, I'm done. I don't think there's anywhere else for me.
Let me do this.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom.
You're gonna go to
a story a while back, September 13th to be exact. While we're on the kit building stuffs, Peter Goldsmith, he used to work at Horizon Hobby, is an excellent modeler. He's been doing it forever. He's been building kits in his shop at his own house out of his garage. He's had his daughter Belinda helping out and his wife pitching in, and they've been building a lot of great sailplanes. So you can see here's pretty much most of the models that he's got available right now. $180 for this Opal. It's a rudder, elevator, spoiler, really simple, really easy to build, really fast to build. So if you don't want like a scale plane or a trainer, you want something more in the soaring category, Peter Goldsmith Designs is a great place to go for that. Does that switch over? Yeah, so here's his website. You can hit the shop button. We're just big fans of Peter and Lil Pete. And, so just wanted to make you guys aware that there are some cool gliders out there available as kits if you want to give it a shot. So cool. Maybe you don't want to spend $1,350 on a ginormous Schweitzer. There are smaller models that are more affordable. So there you go. Check it out. Peter didn't pay us for that. That's just me.
Yep.
Putting it out there because it's cool stuff.
Great guy. Doing a lot of good work over there.
Well, he's kind of one of those icons, kind of like a Frank Knoll type of guy, just somebody who's been in the hobby a long time and done great things. And I often think about Pete in his shop making things on his own. And I'm like, man, living the dream for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has his daughter working for him. And I know his wife does stuff for him as well. It's kind of like Lane and the way he works his wife so hard. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, don't let them kid you. She is the boss. Lane works for her.
Gotcha.
Chrissy definitely is the boss.
And speaking about Flight Fest in Texas, Lane is there right now. You know what? I did shoot him I don't know if I got anything back. I shot him a message to say, hey, I might ping you from the show. And I don't think I did get an answer, but we'll get him on after Flight Fest and we'll get his Flight Fest views and thoughts. After
a lot of trouble with connectivity out there is from what I understand.
Gotcha.
One of the things I do want to mention, if I could, is if you guys that are interested in building want to swing over to the Balsa USA Facebook page, we are giving away a quarter scale kit. If we can hit 10,000 likes by the 31st of December, we're only 500 likes short. We hit 500 page likes, and we're giving away a quarter scale kit.
Oh, Joe, you're breaking my heart over here. What's next? Why don't y'all have that contest in RCGroups, the world's largest and most active RC forum?
I think I put a post up there, but I can't remember if I did or not, to be honest with you.
Well, let's work on a contest for our site, for our users. That would be awesome.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Hit me up and we'll work out the details. I'd be happy to throw something in that direction for sure.
Speaking of which, I was just on the phone with somebody else and we were talking about a contest. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say it until we nail it down. I know why it hasn't happened. I'm supposed to send an email. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Well, Jason, do you have any more thoughts about kit building?
I do not, but I did get a notice that says my trackpad batteries are low on my computer, so I will need to replace those shortly.
I'm going to give you a pro tip if you are a stick builder. If you flick CA in your eye.
Oh, don't do that.
I've done it. The best thing to do is do nothing. The tears in your salt, the salt and your tears will wear away the CA, and it doesn't take as long as you would think. So have you done that before, Mean Joe?
I have not yet. I hope I don't.
Yeah.
Where's safety guard?
I a fighter in my eye one time, and it was not fun.
Oh, when you're doing this kit building, there's a lot of cutting involved, and I have cut my fingers to the bone multiple times, and that's where my best fix was I squeezed my finger and wrapped it in. I'm spacing out on it now.
Kevlar thread.
What was it?
Kevlar thread.
Yeah, well, it was a wing joiner. Not the fiber. It was like the white fiberglassy stuff that
you fiberglassed your finger together.
Yeah, so I put it on real tight and I put CA on it and then I kicked it and it smoked off and that thing stayed on my finger until it healed.
Holy crap!
But then I realized, what if it was infected? I would have no idea.
I do not recommend that.
I only did it once.
Try not to glue composites to your body, people. Wow.
Yes, no acetone in my eyes.
I will say too, for anybody wanting to get started in this, if you hit us up, I'm always available. You can find me pretty easy. Also, the Balsa USA, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, that's me. That's all me. So if you send a message, I will get back to you shortly. So if you have questions and you want to get started, let us know. We'd be happy to help you out.
All right. Well, man, I want to thank Mean Joe for taking time to come and see us and talk to us. Be sure to go to Balsa USA and check out all the great stuff that they have. Jason, I'm sure you'll be building kits before the podcast is even over.
I just finished this one, actually. Oh, wait, no. That was my brain. Sorry. It goes faster in your head than it does in real life.
Well, I'm Jim T. Graham, your host. Jason Cole, Mean Joe Vermillion. Thanks, everybody, for taking their time. And thanks to you, the users. Hit the subscribe button. Spread the word. This hobby, we got to make it bigger and better and brighter and bolder and other words that begin with B. Check back with us next Thursday at 2, and we're out of here. Thanks, y'all.
See you.
Am I down now?